rivers. And in Washington, the man who ordered all of this picks up the phone, calls ABC News, and says, quote, "I am not worried about anything at all." That is where we are right now. The President of the United States launched a war that has shut down the Strait of Hormuz for the first time in 80 years, sent energy markets into freefall, killed American soldiers whose names were read on national television this weekend, and triggered retaliatory strikes from Tehran to Tel Aviv to Bahrain to Kuwait. And his response, quote, "It is a little glitch. We had to take this detour." A detour. That is what the commander-in-chief is calling a conflict that has engulfed the entire Middle East, produced scenes that look like the Book of Revelation, and left Iran's foreign minister on American television this morning saying, "No, we are not interested in your ceasefire, not this time." In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly how this spiraled out of control. The 3 moments from this weekend that tell you everything about where this is headed, and why the world you woke up in this morning is fundamentally more dangerous than the one you went to sleep in a week ago. Think about it like this. If someone picked a fight with you, beat you down, then offered you a handshake, and the moment you took it, they hit you again, how many times would you accept that handshake before you stopped reaching out your hand? Drop your answer in the comments, because that is exactly the calculation Iran just made on live American television. And it changes everything. Let us rewind the clock, because the speed of this conflict has buried the sequence of events that actually matter. The United States and Israel began striking Iran, hitting military targets, then oil infrastructure, then, according to multiple independent investigations from Reuters, CNN, and the New York Times, an elementary school in southern Iran that killed over 170 people, including dozens of children. Iran accepted a ceasefire the first time around. They exercised restraint. They framed it as self-defense. And when the aggression stopped, they stopped too. But then it started again. More strikes, hospitals, refineries, freshwater desalination plants, the infrastructure that literally keeps people alive in a region where purified water is more strategically vital than oil. And this time, Tehran looked at the pattern, looked at the ceasefire it had accepted before, looked at what followed that ceasefire, and made a different decision. This time, Iran said no. That single word is now reshaping the entire conflict, because Washington's entire playbook was built on the assumption that Iran would eventually fold, that the pressure would be too much, that the regime would crack. Instead, Iran is hitting back. Ballistic missiles, Shahed drones, cluster munitions landing in Tel Aviv and surrounding cities, retaliatory strikes on desalination plants in Bahrain, mirroring exactly what was done to them. And the United States has no visible exit strategy. So let me walk you through the 3 receipts from this weekend that show you exactly how unhinged this situation has become. 3 moments, 3 windows into a machine that is running without brakes. Receipt number 1, the ABC interview. Donald Trump calls Mary Bruce at ABC News. She asks him the most basic questions any wartime president should be prepared for. Are you worried about the risk to Americans at home? Are you worried about terrorist retaliation from Iran? Are you worried about the economic fallout, the rising gas prices, the impact on ordinary families? His answer, and I am quoting directly, "I am not worried about anything at all. I think it is fine. It is a little glitch. We had to take this detour. I knew exactly what was going to happen with the detour." A detour, an unlawful war where American soldiers have already come home in flag-draped coffins, where the Middle East is burning from end to end, where the Strait of Hormuz has gone dark, and the president calls it a detour. Then, in the same call, he says everything is on the table, including ground forces, including reports of special forces being sent into Iran to capture enriched uranium. And then perhaps the most revealing line of all. Trump says if Iran chooses its next Ayatollah without consulting him personally, quote, "the new one will not last long." He wants to handpick the supreme leader of a sovereign nation of 90 million people. That is not strategy. That is delusion dressed up as strength. Receipt number 2, the Lindsey Graham doctrine. Trump sends Graham onto the morning shows, and what follows is one of the most disturbing pieces of television produced during this entire conflict. Graham appears on camera wearing a hat that reads "Free Cuba" and another that reads "Make Iran Great." and he delivers what can only be described as a wartime infomercial. Quote, "We are marching through the world. We are cleaning out the bad guys. Iran is going down, and Cuba is next." Let that land. A sitting United States senator on national television during an active war that has already killed American service members is pitching the next war before this one is anywhere close to finished. He calls Trump the greatest commander-in-chief of all time. He says, "You just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks. We are going to blow the hell out of these people." Then he turns to America's Arab allies, countries whose infrastructure is being shredded in this crossfire, and says, if you want a treaty with the United States, you need to get in this fight. That is not diplomacy. That is extortion with a merch table. And the fact that Graham sells Trump on expanding wars by handing him branded hats tells you everything about who is actually driving strategy here. The answer is nobody. Receipt number 3, the Fox News cover-up. This one is quieter, but it might be the most telling. During the dignified transfer at Dover this weekend, where the remains of 6 American service members came home, Donald Trump attended wearing his $55 campaign hat, the same hat he is currently selling on his website. At a dignified transfer for soldiers who died in his war. Fox News aired the ceremony, except they did not air the actual ceremony. They ran footage from a previous dignified transfer from Trump's first term, one where he was not wearing the campaign hat. They got caught. They issued an on-air correction, calling it an inadvertent error. But when has Fox News ever accidentally made the president look more dignified? The names of those 6 Americans deserve to be spoken without a sales pitch in the frame. Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Nicole Moore, Sergeant First Class Noah Tenz, Sergeant Declan Cody, Major Jeffrey O'Brien, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzison. Every single one of them a hero, not one of them a prop. If this reporting is connecting dots you have not seen assembled anywhere else, you are already ahead of most people watching this unfold. Hit subscribe right now. This conflict is accelerating faster than any single outlet can track, and I am going to keep breaking it down every single day. You need to be here when the next piece drops. Now here's the part most people are missing. While Trump and Graham are on American television projecting invincibility, Iran's foreign minister went on Meet the Press this morning and delivered something the White House clearly did not expect: calm, calculated defiance. Most countries, when facing the full weight of American military power, scramble to negotiate. Iran did the opposite. The foreign minister laid out the logic with surgical precision. Last time you attacked us, we accepted a ceasefire in good faith. You used that pause to rearm and attack us again. You bombed our schools, our hospitals, our water supply. So no, we are not accepting another ceasefire. This does not work like that. There should be a permanent end to the war. And until we get that, we will continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security. That is not bluster. That is a negotiating position built on pattern recognition. Iran watched what happened when it showed restraint, and it learned. While Trump tells Americans he is not worried about anything, Iran is telling the world it has made a strategic decision to drag this out, to absorb the punishment and keep firing, to make this war so costly and so prolonged that the pressure shifts back onto Washington. The evidence suggests it is already working. The Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil moves, is effectively shut down. Kuwait's petroleum chief says tanker traffic has dropped to practically zero for the first time in 80 years. Iraqi oil output has plunged 60%. Qatar has shut down liquefied natural gas production. Iran struck Kuwait's Social Security building. Iran hit Bahrain's desalination plants after the U.S. destroyed theirs. And the UAE, despite senior Israeli officials publicly claiming Abu Dhabi was helping strike Iran, issued a furious denial, calling those Israeli statements damaging to the relationship and insisting the Emiratis are operating in a purely defensive posture. You do not fight a superpower by matching its firepower. You make the war expensive enough that the superpower's own people start asking why. So what does this actually mean for you? If you fill up your car, you are about to feel this. If you buy groceries, you are about to feel this. If you have a retirement account, you are about to feel this. Analysts are projecting that food, energy, airlines, transport, and insurance components in both CPI and PPI will get hit hard, potentially pushing headline consumer price inflation above 4% by April or May. The Hormuz shutdown alone is enough to send energy markets into sustained chaos. And once supply chains reroute, once companies restructure around new shipping lanes and new energy sources, those changes do not simply reverse because a ceasefire gets signed 6 months later. The economic damage embeds itself. The jobs follow the new routes, and they do not come back on the old ones. So where does this go from here? There are 3 realistic paths, and none of them are clean. Scenario 1, a managed off-ramp. Back-channel pressure from Gulf states, European allies, and American business interests forces a genuine ceasefire, not just a pause. Both sides claim victory. Trump calls it the greatest deal ever made. Iran tells its people they stood firm. Hormuz reopens. Markets stabilize. But the structural damage remains. The Gulf states that watched their desalination plants and oil infrastructure burn will never trust this security architecture the same way again. The off-ramp exists, but the road behind it is already scorched. Scenario 2, regional realignment. Other Middle Eastern powers, watching the UAE deny involvement, watching Kuwait's economy collapse, watching Bahrain's water supply get targeted, begin making their own calculations. They start hedging, quietly building deeper ties with China, with India, with anyone not currently bombing their neighbors. A new network forms, not anti-American, exactly, but no longer reflexively aligned with Washington. The United States remains the biggest player in the room, but it is no longer the unquestioned center. The monopoly on strategic loyalty fractures, and once it fractures, it does not reassemble. Scenario 3, full escalation. This is the one nobody wants to name out loud, but Lindsey Graham already did. Ground forces, special operations inside Iran, an attempt at regime change in a nation of 90 million people with hardened military infrastructure and a population that, whatever it thinks of its own government, will not welcome American soldiers. Cuba gets added to the list. The marching through the world doctrine becomes actual operational policy. Allies are forced to pick sides. The global economy fragments. And the war that started as a little glitch becomes the defining catastrophe of a generation. Here is what I know for certain. Whatever happens next, the architecture that held the Middle East together for the last several decades is not going back to what it was. Even if Trump reverses course tomorrow, the lesson has been learned by Iran, by the Gulf states, by every mid-sized power watching this unfold. The lesson is brutally simple. Never put all your strategic eggs in one basket, because that basket might get handed to someone who calls a regional war a detour and wears a campaign hat to a funeral. Iran did not start this fight, but its foreign minister just told the world on American television that Tehran has no intention of ending it on Washington's terms. Trump did not build an exit strategy. He built a merchandise line. And Lindsey Graham did not present a military doctrine. He presented a world tour of destruction with a gift shop at the end. So I will leave you with this. Did Trump break the Middle East? Or did the Middle East simply stop pretending the old arrangement still worked? Is Iran's refusal to accept another ceasefire strategic patience or a dangerous gamble that could consume the entire region? And when a United States senator says we are marching through the world, does anyone in Washington actually know where that march ends? Drop your answers in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe, because the next chapter of this, whether it is the Hormuz standoff, the ground forces decision, the Gulf realignment, or the inflation shock that is about to hit your grocery bill, is coming fast. This story is not slowing down. Do not look away. This content is commentary and analysis for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice. Consult qualified experts before making any decisions based on the events discussed.